dancing around, looking beautiful from their head to the ground. I know you're saying that it ain't your bag, but I say just relax, cause life ain't a drag. The drag show, the drag show. Zach and Stu, that pair is a must. The drag show, the drag show, with Labeline and Wanderlust.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Drag Show. Stu Smith, Zachary, and tonight our amazing guest, San Francisco's gift to the world from a period not too long ago, Sister Boom Boom. Thank you for joining us tonight, Sister.
Thank you for being here, Sister Boom Boom.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure being had.
Well, we love having you here with us.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, tell us what you're up to these days.
I'm not up to much, really. I would like to, well, there is, well, what am I up to these days? Really very little.
Very little.
Really very little.
Considering that you were up to so much
Right.
in the not too far distant past.
Well, thank you for saying that.
Well,
it
you know,
was another century.
Well, it was a time in San Francisco in which things were really, really, really happening. It was one of the most
things are
exciting
really
periods of our
happening
time.
now.
They are. They are.
And,
But
you know,
I'd like
it's
to ask you about some of the things you were doing back then.
I had my day in drag. Actually, what I've been doing now, I mean, my God, with the Israeli bombing of Gaza, I've been out of a lot of the demonstrations, and a reporter was very nice to interview me, and I was trying to get across the point. There are just so many Jews now opposing the bombing, people who've not wanted to say anything about Israeli atrocities, but, you know, it's sort of like you have this big, awful, violent drunk in your family. You try to hide it and ignore it, but at one point, you just can't anymore. Anyway, she referred to me in the paper as known to former generations. So it makes me feel like a relic. And, well, in a religion, being a relic is a holy, beautiful thing. So
Absolutely. What clear perspective. You know, but
it comes with age, honey.
I'll tell you, I'm 68, and I think it gets better every year, and I really, truly mean that. But not everybody shares that opinion.
All in all, yes, it does.
Yeah.
Because I remember, you know, when in your heyday, when things were so happening, you know, back like at the convention, the Democratic Convention, I remember when you were in the National Enquirer, when you were in Time, when you were in Newsweek, when you were shaking the world from San Francisco and teaching us a new way to look at things. That was the young, vibrant Sister Boom Boom who burst upon the scene and really started offering a radical alternative to a very passive present in those days. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like then?
Well, my vision wasn't so entirely new. It was built on years of community activism. I mean, inspired by heroes like Bayard Rustin and the Cockettes, the Angels of Light, Harvey Milk, Sylvia, the great drag queen who fought back at Stonewall. I mean, you know, there have been heroes. I mean, Jose Sarria.
Yes.
I mean, my goodness. So what I did was not particularly new. It was just an expression of the day, of that same fierce drag queen, rebellious spirit that fights for people to be free.
Do we have a call? Oh, look at that.
Oh, my God.
So maybe you can clue us in.
Well, about the same time the sisters were getting started, I was in Sluts A Go-Go with Doris Fish, Misleading, who was later Tippy. Actually, she was always a little Tippy. And Frida Lay and the mysterious Miss X. And in the back there is Matt Finish. Oh, and there's a little clipping from the, I think that's from Time or Newsweek.
Wow.
But that was around the convention. And that's from 1983 when I ran for supervisor.
Now, I think only two people, you and Jose, ran for supervisor in that period of time, and then Harvey followed you guys sometime later.
Oh no, Harvey was before me.
Was he really?
Yes, I mean,
oh my God.
This is sort of the funny thing, and all the stuff that's come out about Harvey lately, and there are these anachronistic posings of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence.
78.
And there's a TV production of Execution of Justice, which was historically mostly very good, except it has Sister Boom Boom fluttering around Harvey Milk, But he was killed in 1978, and the sisters didn't appear until 1980.
That's right. He was 78. Yeah.
So Jose Sarria preceded Harvey, but I was
Jose was in
about
the
5 years
60s, I
afterwards.
believe. So when
Early
was it that
60s.
you ran in the 80s then?
I ran in 1983.
Okay. And who was running? You got 23,000 votes from what I read.
Well, we were still in at-large elections, so I wasn't running against anybody in particular. I didn't have to attack anybody, although I did take a few swipes at Diane.
I heard that. I remember that.
I'm sorry I didn't bring in a picture of the poster that has me in my habit flying a broom over City Hall with the smoke trailing behind. Surrender, Diane!
Surrender, Diane.
I love that.
Oh, that's great. I remember Joan Hitchcock also ran against Diane, and she was kind of just, she was a wonderful, colorful lady who liked to drink constantly. And,
well, that
she had
helps
the money
in
to
politics.
do it. Yeah.
One of the reasons I got out of politics.
So on to showbiz. Some more.
Oh, this was with Armistead Maupin.
Oh, yes.
We were co-emceeing the sisters' ball softball game. I have to qualify what kind of balls the girls were playing. It was softball with the Gay Men's Chorus.
All right.
And that was the very first fundraiser for the Gay Olympics, back when we could still call it the Gay Olympics.
That's right.
And they were stopped, and they have to call it the Gay Games, but I still call it the Gay Olympics. I'm not under any court order. Well, at least not in that regard.
So you did that dog show, and that ran for a couple of years, didn't it?
Well, yeah, we had a couple of dog shows. The first annual dog show was organized by Sister Lita Dog's Life. And that was a terrific success. It was one of the very first fundraisers for what was then the KS Foundation, and later, when we found out what was causing KS, it became the AIDS Foundation. So I had the historic honor of emceeing one of the very first fundraisers for the AIDS Foundation and for the Gay Olympics.
Wow. That's
so,
terrific.
I mean, I was just very lucky to be at the right time in the right drag.
That's amazing. So then, what happened after some of these events? Did you when did Sister start retiring?
Oh my goodness, it was more like Sister crashed and burned. Oh dear, dear, dear. Well, let's see. 81 was the first dog show. 82 was the second dog show, and I'm sorry, it was 82 I ran for supervisor. 83 was the recall election. 84 was the Democratic Convention, where we had the big exorcism of Jerry Falwell and Phyllis Schlafly. And 85, I got sober.
My God.
And it's like the public persona was so much at war with the private persona that I just crashed, burned, collapsed, had to get out of it. I got sober, and I just disordered. And
that's a huge change, you know.
It was a huge change, and you know, it's like back then, and you know, it's like I really can't say what the sisters are like now. So what I'm saying is purely historical, nothing about the girls today. But back then, oh honey, the drugs and the booze, and I just had to get away from that to get my own act together. And oh yes, the drugs and the booze.
The drugs and the booze. As we see the sister rolling what appears to be medical marijuana.
That was before medical.
I think so. Yeah.
That was just for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my pose as a holy roller.
I love that.
And this is at the exorcism of Jerry Falwell, and behind me with his face painted black, or her face painted black, is Sister Vicious Power Hungry Bitch.
Yeah.
And on the other side, I don't know who that was, but oh my goodness, Bobby Campbell, Sister Florence Nightmare, RN, was like the original AIDS activist in San Francisco, and he became a sister, Sister Florence Nightmare, RN, and shortly after the Democratic Convention, he passed away. And it's just so very sad. I mean, this is another thing about the times. I mean, it's like between all the sisters, oh my God, it's like people were dying faster than you could grieve. It was horrible, horrible, horrible.
I remember that, yeah.
And, you know, it's like the pressures of doing all this and taking care of what needed taken care of. My God, no wonder.
Yeah, I remember being afraid to pick up the BAR in those days. There'd be 50 to 60 every week, you know, and you knew them.
It still tears me apart to think
Yeah.
about it. It's
Yeah.
just so painful, and those were gruesome days, and I just could not keep up with it. I excuse me, I get all choked up just thinking about it. So I got sober, and I found for me organized religion works. I don't recommend it for everybody, but I have Saturn in the 9th house, so it works for me. And I'm an excellent astrologer, dear. And it does.
It wouldn't happen to be a gentleman by the name of Jack, would it?
Jack Furtick, internationally syndicated astrologer, has
I
a
have
wonderful
been reading
website at
his.
www.starjack.com.
I'll be darned.
And one thing I do for that website, since I did become a Muslim 5 years ago, and we can talk a little more about that, but one of the things I do on that website is that I organize a resource list for queer Muslims.
All right.
So that's at www.starjack.com/QMR, Queer Muslim Resource, QMR.html.
Excellent.
And that is it's a resource list for different groups and associations and websites helping out gay, lesbian, bi, and transsexual Muslims.
What would it be like to be a gay Muslim?
Depends largely on where you are.
I would imagine.
And how you were raised. I mean, being a gay Muslim in San Francisco is so much easier than being a gay Muslim in Iran.
I think, is it a capital offense in certain countries?
In certain countries, but not just in Muslim countries. I mean, there are other
right.
countries where they kill gay folk. And, it's like right now, it's fashionable to hate Muslims. I mean, Muslims are the new Jews.
Yeah, I know that. It's a sad thing.
It's a horrible thing. Being queer and Muslim is a very interesting intersection of identity and activism.
When did you learn or accept or come to believe that you were homosexual or gay?
Well, I was always queer. I was always a sort of a little sissy boy. Everybody else wanted to go play baseball. I'd rather go to the library and read Dr. Dolittle or Mary Poppins, or of course the whole Oz series. It's like everybody else knew I was queer before I did. And as to really sharpening sexual identity, I think it happened when Sean Connery was out in those James Bond movies. And of course, all us little boys would go see the movies, and that the other boys would be fussing over the cars and the gadgets and the girls, and I'd be sitting there drooling every time Sean Connery took his clothes off.
Where were you born, sister?
Well, that's...
Well, let's see.
That's
When
okay.
did you come to San Francisco?
Well, my family came to San Francisco in the 1850s.
Oh, my gosh.
So, no, I'm from an old San Francisco family, but Mother went to school in Chicago to get away from her family, so that's where I was born.
Okay.
But my earliest memories are San Francisco, and then 7 winters in Chicago, 10 summers in Washington, D.C. It was... I don't complain about the weather, having come home.
Not
17 years of wanting to come home, here I am. No, I don't complain about the weather.
All right, let me ask you this. When did Sister Boom Boom emerge?
Well, that was an evolution.
Okay.
And as Taylor de Chardin says, we can reconcile religion with evolution and revolution. All for that, too. So, let's see. It all started back in the 70s when I was living at the convent of the Holy Face of Jesus, as revealed to St. Tuna. And I was living with Sister Hamburger Deluxe and Mother General Wilberforce. And, well, Sister Hamburger Deluxe left the order, and we sort of reorganized, and Sister Rondo Dumarie came to us from East Lansing, Michigan, Surf City Convent, and so we became the Sister Dumarie under the leadership of Sister Rondo Dumarie, and Mother General Wilberforce became Sister R. Marie, and then we had Sister Donna Marie, and I was Sister Labata Marie. Anyway, that was when the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence were just getting started. Actually, that was a little bit later. We were the Sister Du Marie for a little while. And there is an ad in a paper, some community paper, at recruiting new nuns for the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. So Sister Rondo and I checked it out. And, well, it wasn't her thing, but it was very much mine. It was just the right mix of theater, activism, and spirituality. And so I joined the order. A lot of people say I was one of the original sisters. I wasn't. The 4 original sisters were Sister Banana Nut Bread, who later became Sister Hysterectoria, Sister Missionary Position, our beloved Reverend Mother, the Abbess, or the Abyss, whatever. She's a very deep character. And, of course, Sister Adinadishvara, named for an androgynous Hindu deity, but she later became known as Sister Vicious Power Hungry Bitch.
Can you tell us a little
And
about
yes, we were selling those indulgences to raise money
that,
for, oh my goodness. That's a long time. Yes, selling
that's-
absolutions.
That's signed by you, or at least
That
it's a
one is
stamp of
signed
your
by me.
signature, Sister Boom Boom.
Yeah, that's my signature on that one. And that was one of our early fundraising efforts.
Yes.
And
Boom.
didn't we see that one before? That's either from Time or
No, this
Newsweek.
is, there was a Newsweek and a Time, and there should be
Yeah.
a National Enquirer in there somewhere.
Oh, yes.
What were you in the National Enquirer for?
For outraging American morals.
Yeah,
Oh, I love
and it was a very
Yeah,
smug
that's
little
fun.
article by the editorial
The
board
headline
there.
over my picture was, "Ugh."
Oh, gosh.
Well, maybe it's not in there, but...
Oh, and the funny thing is that they had a picture of me kissing somebody I actually knew. Well, anyway. Now, Andrew was a very sweet boy. I'm sorry, he's one of the boys we lost in that horrible, horrible time. And Andrew was just so beautiful. And anyway, he was with me the night of the election, and a photographer got a picture of me kissing him, and they ran that in the papers, or in the Enquirer. And so I called him up. I said, honey, you're in the National Enquirer. He says, what the hell am I doing in the National Enquirer? I said, kissing me. He says, oh shit, my mother's friends all read that paper.
Oh, God, that's great.
Oh dear, I said shit on TV. Can I do that?
It's okay.
Yeah, it's
Oh, well.
okay.
What the fuck?
So, gosh, I mean, it's amazing. So the convention here in San Francisco, I mean, I was working in a restaurant and bar at the time called the Little City Antipasti Bar up in North Beach. And I remember it was kitty corner from the Washington Square Bar and Grill, and the city was just packed with all this power and prestige. And
Oh, of course, the Washbag was
news-
one of Herb Cain's favorite haunts, so
Yeah.
everybody went there.
So Walter Cronkite would be there, and the Speaker of the House, Tip O'Neill, all these different people. And then it wasn't as radical as the Chicago convention by any shot, but
Well, I was there too.
at Chicago?
Yes,
Oh, my
as a
God.
matter of fact, I was at the Chicago Convention in '68, the same night that Anita Bryant was there singing the national anthem.
God.
Oh, my God.
I just love it. Sister Boom Boom and Anita Bryant together at the Chicago Convention in '68. You couldn't make that up.
No, my God, it's fantastic. So what happened for you at the Chicago convention?
Well, not a lot. I was a page on the convention floor, and we were staying with friends in Chicago, and there are a lot of us inside the convention hall with the delegates, the pages, everybody working there, and we were staying with friends in a big house where some of our friends were outside at the demonstrations. And so we had a lot of stuff going on back and forth. There were a lot of progressive Democrats, people who had been elected as McCarthy and Kennedy delegates, who were in total sympathy with the kids outside. And we were making connections in and out to keep things going and make things inside a little more exciting than Mayor Daley would have wanted them.
Mayor Daley, boy, an oppressive voice from the past,
Oh,
and
my goodness,
oppressive
yeah.
presence, and now his son has been mayor in Chicago for 18 years. It's amazing.
Another dynasty.
Yeah.
Isn't democracy wonderful?
When it works, if it works.
Best government money can buy.
And money does, doesn't it?
Oh.
So, Zach, what are you thinking about?
God, I just feel like
Here you are sitting next to history.
I'm sitting next to like major history. I'm just really in awe. I'm so like honored to be sitting next to you, and I just yeah, gosh, I just want to hear more and more and more stories.
Well, you know, since all that, you know, when I became a Muslim,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people say, you can't be a Muslim. Islam is anti-gay. And, you know, it's like, well, I already knew from Christianity and Judaism, it's
Right.
not the religion that hates, it's the religious.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And not all the religious. There are lovely people in all religions who are just
Right.
very warm and loving and accepting.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's like, how anti-gay can Islam be? I mean, you look at those black Muslims, they call themselves the fruit of Islam, those cute young boys, the fruit of Islam, all dressed up like Pee Wee Herman. Now, how homophobic can you be?
Right. It's kind of like the same thing with, you know, like the gay Mormons that go around and they're all pretty and perfect looking and they're very homoerotic, I think.
And the thing is, Mormons don't believe in monogamy, so it's like,
Right.
Yeah.
So,
there's some advantage there, too.
right. Yeah.
Having one husband, having two husbands, having three husbands.
4 or 5. Yeah.
Well, I don't know all of the.
I used to be the
branches.
bride of Christ, one of many, so I'm used to polygamous cults.
That was as a sister or
As a sister.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
No, Muslims aren't brides of Christ.
No, I didn't think they were. But
No, we honor Jesus as a prophet, but not like the Christians do.
Right. So what drew you to become Muslim, and what's the process of like converting?
The process is very easy.
Very
All you
easy.
have to do is say La ilaha illallah wa Muhammad Rasulullah and mean it. It helps if you understand what it means.
And what does it mean?
It means there is no God but God, and Muhammad is his prophet. And it all started with my travels around Turkey, and later some schooling in Morocco, and just wanting to know more about Islamic culture. The trip to Turkey was a fabulous fluke, really. And when I saw how people lived there, and I saw the people in worship, and also the culture. It wasn't so much the religion as the culture, our sense of history. And I was studying history in Italy at the time. But our sense of history in America is so Eurocentric, and you know that, you read about that. And of course in California we get a lot of stuff about East Asia. But in terms of historical sensibility, the Mideast is like the hole in the donut. What the hell happened there?
Mm-hmm.
And when I got there, I saw, oh my God, everything happened here. This was the crossroad of continents. And so I continued my historical studies, looking into the Mideast, Mideastern cultures, history, and of course there you have to learn about Islam to understand the context and the cultures. And the more I learned about it, the more sense it made. I was very happy being a Catholic. I had no intention of converting. But then I just came to a point where Islam just made more sense than Christianity. For one thing, at least in Sunni Islam, there's no religious hierarchy. And this is one of the reasons you've got all these people running off interpreting Islam the way they like, sometimes in very dangerous ways. But at the heart of it, at the beginning of every prayer, at the beginning of every chapter of the Quran, it says, in the name of God who is all compassion and all mercy. And if your version of Islam isn't directed by compassion and mercy, I really don't know what it has to do with the Quran.
Yeah, I think it confuses lots of people, and I don't understand. But we're getting close to call it a night. Are we? I think. But I'd like to maybe close with some of your comments about your transition from Catholicism, from the sisters to Catholicism, or did you remain Catholic your whole life and then into Islam or Muslim?
Well, I was a Catholic for many years, and then just studying Islam, it made more sense.
So
It was that much was really very simple.
So do you practice that religion here?
Oh yes, I do practice Islam.
Okay. Do you
I
go
belong to a mosque.
Okay.
And I pray, and I don't eat pork, and I don't drink wine. And no, I don't. Well, I mean, I'm a recovering alcoholic, so giving up booze is sort of redundant. Giving up pork was the hard part.
Bacon would kill me.
Well, it may have saved my husband's life. He's had heart disease, so we found it before anything horrible happened. But still, after he went in for that double bypass, I told him, "See, 3 years of no pork, that may have saved your life."
Or at least cut down on the number of bypasses, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm curious as to where you actually do go to mosque, or
I think my mosque would rather I didn't divulge that
that's fine. I just don't
information.
know, but I understand there are quite a few mosques here in San
There are some
Francisco.
lovely mosques, and one of the things that's very exciting now is that there is a mosque and a synagogue and a church working together
That's
Wow.
beautiful.
to form an interfaith center that
I
is
love
to be called the Abrahamic House of Prayer.
Wow, I love that.
That's awesome.
It's going to be an interfaith center in Noe Valley at the Noe Valley Ministries.
Okay, well, I want to really sincerely thank you for joining us tonight. It's been a really fascinating glimpse at some of the history of San Francisco and a man's personal movement in life. And thank you for enriching both of us and our viewers.
Well, thank you so
Ditto
much
to
for having
that.
me.
Yeah, thank you so
and
much.
continued good fortune. And congratulations on your marriage, too.
Yes.
And God bless you all. Well,
God
14
bless
years
you.
we've been together.
That's beautiful. That's
14 and a half now. And we've got 2 darling little doggies, and life's gotten very dull. I'm not
Okay.
complaining.
Well, thank you again, and please tune in again for the Drag Show with Zachary Davenport, Stu Smith, Labeling, and Wanda Lust. Thank you.
See you next time.
All right.